Ladies and gentlemen, one more time I want to welcome you back to the Alameda County Shelter-in-Place Corona Indoor Nationals. Now, I know before yesterday we had a really long break, and part of that is just because once we got into this shelter-in-place I got really busy. But we all know that we got to finish what we start, and we want to go out with a bang here at the Corona Indoor Nationals. Our last event is going to be a throwing event, and again we're going to debut a brand new indoor event. It's going to be the indoor hammer throw. Now the hammer throw is usually only thrown outdoors, or the hammer is usually only thrown outdoors. But today we're going to have the first ever indoor hammer throw. And the rules of the indoor hammer throw are quite a bit different than the rules of the outdoor hammer throw. For example, in the outdoor hammer throw, usually you have 3 attempts, or maybe just 4 attempts, but you could have 3 and then the top group will go to finals, whatever it is. The indoor hammer throw, every competitor has just 1 attempt. It actually plays a lot more like the javelin than the outdoor hammer throw, except instead of using a javelin in the indoor hammer throw, we just throw a hammer and see how far it goes. And I don't know if it's because they are excited for the last day of competition or just excited to destroy the place I live, but of course, both Spalding and Hope are really excited to throw the hammer today in our last day of competition. So like the javelin, there is a runway, and we have to release the hammer before we get to the end of the runway. And there's all kinds of things that might happen. Maybe we can hit a fan or the other fan. If we're really good, maybe we can throw it right through the window. If I let go too early, maybe we'll bring down one of the lights. Maybe we'll just put it right through the wall. Who knows? Now, before we get to the big event, we need to take a moment to thank our sponsor. And we all know what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Unless you get hurt in Vegas, then that injury comes home with you too. And if that injury was somebody else's responsibility, then you should be able to bring some of that Vegas money home with you too. And that's where my sister, Dana Oswald, personal injury attorney, comes in. Now my sister, Dana, she never did track and field. Let me assure you, it doesn't matter how fast that ambulance is driving, she can catch it. And when she does, that means profit for you. So it doesn't even matter what you were doing. Maybe you were climbing over a barbed wire fence and fell off an elevated train track. Or maybe you were base jumping off an abandoned construction site and broke lots of bones. Or maybe you had your arm ripped off by an industrial piece of machinery. No matter what it is, if it's not your fault, call Oswald. You know, with the arm that didn't get ripped off. So Hope is first up on the runway, and here she goes. She's going the right way this time. Now we know from earlier in the competition that we could use toilet paper to take this measurement, but I think for the hammer, we'll use a tape measure. Oops. And you see a mark here of 7 feet 1 inch. So Hope has laid out a mark to start with, and we'll see what Spalding can come through with next, and then I'll be up last. Spalding on the runway, getting his bearings. He's kind of looking down, trying to figure out how to get that hammer beyond 7 feet 1 inch, which is the leading mark in the competition by Hope. A little tough when you've got no hands, but Spalding did figure out a way to win the high jump and figured out a way to win the 8-meter hurdles with no legs. So pretty impressive showing thus far, and we'll see what he can do in the hammer. As a basketball, Spalding is going to employ a technique where he hopes to take advantage of his bounciness a little bit. Let's see how it works out. Oh! He survived a concussion in the high jump way back in the first event. May have another one, and That didn't work out so well as he went farther than the hammer. That is certainly a foul. Alright, you guys know I have one shot at this. Got to make this thing go over 7 feet 1 inch. No tiebreaker here. Just a housebreaker with this throw. Well, when my mother made me, she broke the mold. And when I threw the hammer, I broke the mold. We got to get this thing measured. You can see that it's got some molding on the edge of the hammer, so there's some evidence of, you know, what I did. Get this thing measured. It's going to be tough to figure out how exactly to measure it around the corner, but it didn't land until it did come around the corner before it landed. So I think we do measure it out to here. Oops, I think I might have... No, it's still there. And so we'll get an official measurement of, this is 11 feet 9 inches, almost exactly. Maybe, yeah, 11 feet 9. That's going to be enough to do it. That would be my 3rd world record in the Corona Indoor Nationals, which is a pretty cool way to celebrate this competition. But it's not the last celebration that we have. We've got a couple of things to announce here before we wrap things up. A couple surprises. So as I'm sure was obvious, early on in this competition, Spalding and Hope weren't getting along very well. But maybe you noticed some chemistry going on in those middle competitions, and very perceptive of you. That was not your imagination. Just a couple of months later, I want to introduce you to the newest Coronial in the Coronial Indoor Nationals, Hutch. Everybody knows the story of how Jesse Owens broke 4 world records in 45 minutes. Nobody's ever going to do that again. I didn't do it in this meet, but I did break 3 world records in the same meet. And I did win 5 national championships in what is inarguably the most legitimate national championship held in the world this year. And I think that makes me a good candidate to win the Jesse Owens Award this year, which is awarded by USATF to the top male athlete in the United States. So I don't know what the nomination process is, but make sure that the USATF knows that it should be me up on that stage because of the history that you've witnessed over these last couple of months. Like every major championship, the Corona Indoor Nationals began with an opening ceremony where we lit the torch. Can't end an event like this without a closing ceremony. And so here we go. Over these last few months, we've battled the Princeton virus, and we're not done yet, but we've made some progress. Won't necessarily be doing this all the way through, but to symbolize what should happen the rest of the way, doesn't want to go down. There we go. Just like Cornell used to do to Princeton at every HEPS, we will defeat the Princeton virus. I hope you've enjoyed the Corona Indoor Nationals. I did. I'd say it's probably not the best idea to burn athletic tape. It doesn't smell very good. One last piece of advice. It's not quite paint drying, but it's certainly way better than the race walk.